split, so they lose to them, but they also use a sub, and then you're kind of left with the question, you know, did they lose because they had Grig? Did they lose because they're not as strong of a team as these guys? You know, like, how strong really is Echo Fox? And Envy has been looking really good, so we may be able to really get a better judgment on that today.
It should be a good answer for either one of these teams to see if they can find their victory against their opponents here today. See how the picks and bans fold in game number 1 as LeBlanc and Lucian are banned away by Team Envy. Echo Fox going to respond with Zach and Shen both being taken off the table. The Zach ban, not surprising at all in 7.11. Zach is just incredibly strong. Pretty much everyone universally agrees this champion has so much ganking potential, so much CC potential. They talk about how you don't even have to hit the elastic slingshot anymore. You just stretching strike to a minion and smack them into the champion.
And he has like a surprising amount of damage as well, which is why he's kind of not really getting through pick and bans at all. At least had been getting through in the earlier stages of the LCS split, but it seems like when she kept getting first pick, people are willing to take her off the table. Kennen has really risen as one of those champions that is now kind of that first pick worthy top laner. It's kind of interesting though, because we haven't necessarily seen a lot of success with this champion in North America. I think it's very similar to the problems that North American teams were having playing around top lane Jace. When you have this kind of early to mid game focused champion who must be lane dominant, you have to play aggressive. If your team is not supporting you in that, you know, defending you from ganks, helping you to push that advantage, it doesn't always work out, and we're not seeing some of the North American teams have a real cohesive plan around that. So we'll see how well Lyra and Seraph can work together to really enable that kind of pick.
Lyra is definitely the kind of guy that can get things done in the jungle, enable his laners to be as strong as you want them to be, especially on a pick like Lee Sin that we have seen this guy perform on time and time again. Exactly the sort of champion that you want to see your first team in a LCS jungler from Spring Split be on. So putting him on that, going to be fantastic for them. Talia pick up for Pyrian, while Echo Fox's first rounds of the draft will result in Caitlyn, Karma, and Gragas being picked up for their side.
And Gragas certainly can go jungle. It also can be flexed top. You know, it can go either one of those positions. We have seen very occasionally it played support as well, but you certainly shouldn't expect that. It would be interesting to see if Looper has the confidence to play some of the carry matchups into Kennen. And I was going to talk about Jace, but that has been taken off the table as one of those matchups that can work pretty well here into Kennen. And the longer that Kennen stays as this like kind of top priority pick, the more I am wondering when people are going to break out some of the more kind of solo queue type counters, things like Pantheon and Swain that are considered quite good matchups, even things like Kayle. You know, there are champions that match up very well against Kennen in the 1v1. There's reasons that they're not necessarily played in competitive still, but when this champion is this dominant for that long, you are expecting people to kind of come up with a better answer rather than just playing a tank into it every time and going down 100 CS.
There's something you don't see every day. Kassadin going to be picked up with still a couple of picks left to go. They know the enemy mid laner though, so they're confident picking it into the Talia.
Yeah, Talia is someone that really does struggle against assassins, and generally speaking, these more defensive Kassadin builds that have kind of risen to the top as far as starting Doran Shield, that really helps, and you go 18-0-12, so you can get Fearless and then Deathfire Touch. It allows you to be much more resilient in lane, and if you can stay even or relatively close to even with this Talia in the early stages, when you start hitting level 6, when you start scaling up, Talia cannot match up very well against you at all.
Well,
oh, there it is.
Cut out for him, and there you go. Nail the prophet, man. He says, when are we going to start to see the Kennen counters? And sure enough, Pantheon locked in for Echo Fox in the top lane for Looper. I have to see how the little lightning Yordle can deal with those lock-on spears coming at his face every couple of seconds. It's such a difficult lane to deal with early on for almost any champion.
It really is. And Pantheon is extremely dominant in the 1v1, but it also excels with the 2v2 because you have this point-and-click stun. You have a lot of very easy damage to get out. And in combination with Gragas, you have a Kennen that's going to be pushing in, and you have to be very scared about getting ganked here. So certainly a champion that can win that 1v1, but how can he kind of make this work around the rest of the map?
Right.
Because Pantheon, when you get ahead, this is not a champion that you want to sit in the side lanes and farm on. You need to make plays. You need to use your ultimate, roam around the map, and really push the pace of the game. And that has been something that Echo Fox has not necessarily excelled at.
They've got to be able to rotate him down, especially towards bottom lane. That's usually what you see Pantheons like to do, right? You hit level 6, maybe you get a kill on the enemy laner, you go bottom with the ulti, you grab a quick double kill, get some turrets, get some drakes, do something. But that kind of very up-tempo play style is what Echo Fox is going to need to make this pick work out, especially with somebody like a Caston who will like to roam. If these guys can get going as a group, it'll be massive success.
They really will, and that Pantheon can also cover Froggen in the eventual split push that he'll like to get into. These are two very powerful comps. You do have a lot of split push pressure coming out from both, with the Kennen looking to split, the Cassid eventually looking to split, but you also have some good sieging power here, especially on Echofox's side. With the Caitlyn Karma, they can be very aggressive and look to try to bully out Apollo and Hakuo, but you're going to always have to respect the fact that Lyra is on an extremely strong early game jungler and can swing these lanes.
Always keep eyes on Lyra when he's got the Lee Sin. Like we've said, this guy knows how to get involved in the game, knows how to get involved in those lanes very early on. A playmaker, if there ever was one. Finds Acadian here in the jungle, seeing if maybe they are getting into a little bit of a scrap. Sonic Wave hits him, but that's pretty much all you're going to get as he drops down the ward to keep an eye on those Raptor camps. You see so much of this these days. Everybody just wants that little bit of extra information to make sure, okay, these Raptors are going to be respawning around 4:30.
Especially when you're playing with a Talia mid, who can very easily walk up there and maybe steal away one of those little chickens, because she can, even if you take 1 or 2 away, you deny the level 2 off of the little Raptors, which just kind of slows down the clear a little bit for Acadian.
Anything to just make it a little less efficient for your opponent.
It's also very interesting that Acadian actually is going Bond of Stone here. That's pretty atypical. Most people would go Courage of Colossus.
Yeah.
Bond of Stone can be very easily applied through any of your CC, as well as the slow from your Q, I do believe, actually applies that. And since you're doing it AoE, for Keith, that's going to be a fair bit of auto attack healing that he's going to get from that mastery. And you also have to remember that it does buff up your HP by that 5%, so it does have some flat stats on it there too.
Pretty close call between the fan vote at the start of game number 1. 45% for Envy, 55% for Echo Fox. So fans not really too certain one way or the other about how this one's going to swing. We'll have to see how it plays out as Lyra will start up here at his own red buff, dragging that further away.
And Pyrion was able to steal away a couple of those little Raptors. So he gets 2 for himself. That means Acadian won't get level 2 until he's actually fully cleared out that camp. And actually doesn't get level 2 at all because of the second steal. So only if you get 1 do you finish level 2 on the big Raptors. That's a pretty big deal. He has to do a level 1 red buff clear, which is going to slow down his clear tremendously. And he's going to take a ton of damage doing this. So Lyra is going to be way ahead on the pacing of this clear.
Yeah, the difference between 1 and 2 Raptors being stolen away is actually really big when it stops you from hitting that level 2 after a single camp.
I mean, Lyra is already on his 3rd camp. Acadian just finished his 2nd and is much lower health. So that does kind of give you some idea of how much this has been slowed down on the clear-wise. And Lyra, we'll look to see if he can take advantage of that. Can he actually get out on the map and make an early gank happen while Acadian is still stuck clearing?
Unfortunately for Lyra, right now, the opposing solo laners are safely tucked away under their turrets, so it'll be a little bit difficult to get in there on them too aggressively. He will move into enemy territory here, see if maybe he can find anything, but Acadian's made his way to the other side of the jungle. Lyra might just be doing some krug keeping.
One of the big things here is actually the timing of this. So Seraph is shoving in that top wave. If he can actually make the top wave bounce, get all the way into the turret, then the Pantheon will have to come out further away from his turret, and Lee Sin could look to wrap around for a gank. But this is kind of what we were talking about, with this Deathfire Touch cast. And he actually didn't even go the Doran Shield, but he's actually ahead on CS, winning in the poke war, and this is a champion that's going to be getting stronger and stronger.
This is a champion that you expect to lose lane, that you expect to become that late game scaling monster, and scaling's not really a tall order when you're winning the laning phase of your own volition like that, so a very nice start for Frog, and we know how much Echo Fox likes to play towards this guy too. They give him so many resources, so much attention, so much help, because they know he's the guy who can win with it.
And to be fair, Froggen has been a laning monster. He's very good. I think that is really the best aspect of his game. If you leave this guy in an isolated 1v1, somewhere where all the farm and the advantages that he is getting are really going to be big for the team, then he's going to be very effective, right? And
absolutely.
He is a hyper-scaling champion here, so any edge he gets in lane is going to be very, very useful.
Lyra still not managing to find a chance to get himself involved in the game just yet, still farming up as quickly as he can. Of course, both these junglers are going to have much more effective ganks once they do hit level 6, so power farming isn't the worst thing in the world, although their ganking capabilities early on would be favorable if they could find those opportunities. Hawk shots fired off by Apollo. That's something I think a lot of the time people undervalue with the Ashe as well. It's so easy to keep tabs on the enemy jungler. Even if your Hawk shot doesn't find him, you can fire it off into the enemy jungle, see which camps are down, which ones are up, and get a good idea on where he's down.
Exactly. It's making those really strong, educated guesses based on the information that you can find, right? If a camp is up, he's likely heading to that side of the map. If camps are all down on one side of the map, you know he's probably looking to either gank or heading to the other side. Like you can make these guesses based on what they are doing and what you have or have not seen. There's a lot of actually interesting little things going on here, though. You know, even the Deathfire touch on Looper, that is more of like a laning focused choice there. They may be looking to set up a dive. We'll see if they're going to go for it. Yeah, they are going to look for this dive onto Seraph. We'll see if he can pull it off. They need to juggle as well.
There we go. It's going to be Looper taking the aggro at the start. Seraph trying to get himself away, does successfully do so. Looper takes a lot from that turret.
They do get the flash, though, and Seraph is very low. They want to try to push this in and perhaps even zone him off some of the CS, but Lyra is moving up, and the Echo Fox members are low here, too.
It's a massive amount of minions that he would be losing. Lyra making sure that doesn't happen.
So one of the strengths of the Pantheon is with the diving. You can actually block turret shots with your passive.
Yeah.
So the way you want to start off these dives is you actually have your passive active, you pull aggro on the turret, you get hit by the turret shot, then you use your W, which resets your passive. You can block double turret shots just like that, and that can enable you to pull off these kinds of dives. But generally speaking, in solo queue, you'd be playing with Ignite, because Ignite really lets you kind of dominate a matchup such as this, and if they had that Ignite, perhaps they actually do get the kill there. So you know, it's a very laning-focused setup for Looper, and he must get some sort of advantages, I kind of feel.
Plus, as Pantheon, you do have the semi-global ultimate. It softens the blow of not having to teleport in top lane as much.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not quite a TP. You can't go straight from your base to the enemy base with it, but...
And we're not playing solo queue, right? We're playing a more organized team-style game, so I certainly understand why he would take teleport over the Ignite. But you do kind of keep that in mind, that you're playing a super lane-focused champion and a super lane-focused matchup, and if you're not getting the advantage there, it's going to make it a little bit harder.
Froggen running a little low in the mana pool department, still trying to shove up this wave here in mid lane. A Blasting Wand, his first purchase on the Cassidy after that initial buy of the Dark Steel and Corrupting Potion. Bottom side, nothing really has happened back and forth between these two. Both sides have been very content just to farm it back and forth. They're staying exactly even in the CS. So not really a whole lot to tell between these guys.
To me, though, like I would honestly say, if you're looking at an isolated lane, in a 2v2 lane, I feel that the Caitlyn Karma, if anyone should be getting the edge, it's probably them. So if you're Envy, with more of the kind of team fight focused, less laning focused support in Braum, you're probably pretty happy that you're coming out even, because I think that Braum's strengths are not in lane. It's later in the game, it's in the team fights, and it's in those engages. So they should be feeling pretty happy.
Especially against something like you said, the Caitlyn Karma. This is a bully lane. This is ranged, harassed, poke, just abuse in the laning phase. And these two are coming away from it blow for blow. They're actually ahead in terms of farm right now.
And part of the credit, obviously, it's not just the isolated 2v2. You know, perhaps Keith and Gate would be able to play more aggressive if their jungler was playing more on this side of the map, or if they had more vision to be able to track Lyra, because you know, you can go very aggressive and try to poke them out, but Braum has very strong gank assistance, and if Lyra comes in there, you can get killed off. So there's always these external factors that do affect the matchups, but you would hope in an isolated 2v2 situation, Echo Fox would have more of it.
Still 0-0 as Acadian heads himself towards top side. Gonna be the gank here on the Seraph, who's got no flash, and first blood shows its face for Echo Fox. Meanwhile, Arrow in the bottom side on the Keith. Glacial Fissure not gonna find him in time. Flash away, keeps it safe. Lyra looking to make the moves, and he's got him. Envy ties this up.
Oh, Froggen was so low and wanted to stay around to soak up that wave.
Greed.
That was really greedy.
Deadly Sin, Azael.
Yeah, and Lyra makes him pay, and they're actually getting a ton of damage down on this turret now with that red buff Lee Sin. And we'll see if they want to try to continue to push. They could actually just look to try to knock down first turret here, but this is the play on the top side. And knowing that Seraph has no flash, you make the repeat gank. There's the flash, point and click stun. Nothing that can really be done here by Seraph. That's flash body slam and a flash stun. And then this is just nice from Envy. You know, combining those Ashe ultimate and the Braum ultimate, you can almost guarantee they'll at least get a summoner out. Action happening all three lanes at the same time.
Flash kick from Lyra onto Froggen just to make sure there was no way he was getting away, flash or not, from that one to tie this game up 1-1. Still dead even in terms of gold, too. It's not like anyone's building up some sort of advantage in passive farming. Acadian moving toward this Infernal Drake. Very valuable Drake to have spawn first and foremost. Often does encourage earlier plays than others might. So a pre-10-minute break coming out from these guys before there's even first turret blood taken. Echo Fox get that no contest.
And that is a big one. And I always think that it's good to look at the kind of team composition you're running when you're taking into consideration like how powerful this Drake is. And when you have someone who's going to build a lot of AD in the top lane like Pantheon, it just gives you a little bit of an extra edge there. You know, it's going to be that much stronger.
Got plenty of damage threats to make use of that as this game scales. Froggen continuing to farm up as much as he can. Pretty easy to clear away these waves now on the Kassadin. Does get hit by the seismic shove from Pyrion, but he'll walk it off, take a couple swigs of the potion, and be just fine as he heads over potentially to pick up his blue buff here.
We can see Pantheon's moving down. He could be looking for an ult mid, and there he goes.
Already going. Pyrion gonna be caught out by the slow, forced to flash out. Knows Looper has no flash to chase him.
Still, well done. You trade that ultimate for the flash any day, right? That is a good move from Looper, and this is what he had to do. You don't want to just stay in the isolated 1v1 as a Pantheon. You take your advantage, you move it elsewhere on the map, and mid lane is a great place to go because this is really where you're going to have your biggest late game threat on this Kassadin, someone who can take over the game in the side lanes. So, smart little move from Looper, but well responded to by Pyrion.
A lot of respect coming out for the Pantheon pick from Seraph as well, who's done Ninja Tabbies first just to make sure that he avoids death as easily as possible. But mid lane, first turret blood does go down. Envy picking that one up thanks to Pyrion, and that is going to pad their pockets just a little bit. Froggen jumping in, but not going to be getting anything else out of it.
And that's kind of the untold story. You know, it's not showing on the CS. You know, Froggen, while he is CSing well and doing very well in lane in that regard, he's always going to be pushed in because Kassadin's major weakness is lack of wave clear and lack of safe wave clear, right? So it can be very concerning when you do start to lose turrets, especially if bot lane loses a turret and they start rotating around because Kassadin cannot safely defend these turrets by himself. You want to be kind of at an even or ahead state so that you can move into the side lanes and really kind of keep farming and playing those isolated 1v1s. You don't want to be stuck under your turrets defending.
For now, Froggen will still be in a decent enough spot. But with that mid lane turret down, that means we will likely start to see some more rotations coming out from Envy. You've got a Talia, you've got the Weaver's Wall. There's the tools available in the kits to get these guys around the map and do what they need to do between arrows and walls and glacial fissures and Lyra setting up plays. So if they can get this going, this is one thing I want to keep my eye on, especially as we head towards that fateful early game into mid-game transition that in the past for both of these teams was so problematic. Like we mentioned earlier, Echo Fox and Envy in Spring Split were both strongest in the early game. Mid-game would come around and they'd look lost. It would seem like they didn't know what to do with advantages. They'd throw them away. And now coming into summer, if they want to be competitors, that has to change.
It really does. And I think these are good teams to kind of show, like, have you actually shored that up? Because if you're playing against another team that's supposed to have this weak late game and you cannot close out a game, then that is pretty concerning. And you know, Looper and Acadian looking to see if Seraph will actually step up here. His flash is back. Acadian still has his available too, though.
All right, there you go. Ulti comes out. Seraph trying to pop the ult defensively just to get himself away. He does do so. Lyra looking to jump in there, turn this one right back around, and Looper is going to be smacked down as Pyrion rides the wave right up top. And Acadian may just be number 2. Sonic Wave won't find the mark, but Envy turns that one around.
Very nice little moves by Acadian to try to get out, but I think he's going to get chased down. We'll see if he can actually avoid death.
Threaded volley won't quite find him. They pop the heal, just trying to get there in time, but miss it by the damage of a single rock.
It's just not enough damage to actually finish off Seraph, and that's a lot of why you kind of build a little bit more defensively there. He has those tabbies, he's able to stay alive and survive until Lyra can come up and turn that fight around.
And now Lyra, that Lee Sin playmaker that we were talking about, the guy that can be anywhere on the map and make anything happen, is 2-0. So expect that goal to be used for more playmaking as time goes on. Hakuo and Apollo forced off the bottom lane tier 1 as Froggen threatens the roam down. Means quite a large minion wave is going to be smashing into that turret. A little bit of farm lost as they work their way back here trying to defend it, and more damage going into that objective. Pyrion wanting to try to get away from this. Remember, his heal is not available, and Froggen and Looper will cash in on some free money.
Yeah, that's really well done. Return as soon as his ultimate's back up. They know Pyrion won't have flash because they burned that last time, and he has a little bit of CDR now with that Ghost Blade done, and can trade pretty aggressively here with Seraph because you can constantly reset that passive. It makes it hard for auto attack champions to deal with, but here's the play once again. Seraph gets in range of Looper. He's able to jump right in on him. That was actually a very nice start to the play for Echo Fox, but they just did not have enough damage to actually finish him off, and the flash would come back up for Kennen. Pyrion was already on the roam. Lyra was already heading back up here too. This was pretty clever from Acadian, though, flashing to the side that they would not be going for that seismic shove, then using a body slam to get back over. Does play that pretty well to survive.
Definitely playing the mind games right in order to escape with his life ever so barely on that.
3 points.
Yep. Right through the goalpost, baby. Arrow not quite finding what they wanted it to, but Apollo will have more chances as the game goes on. Looper and Froggen happy to see that one sail in between them as they get themselves away. Furion securing his own blue buff. Level 10 on both these mid laners and top laners. And even Lyra.
Coming bot. They're going to look for this fight.
TP in. Keith exhausted. Caught out here a little bit. CC coming down. Keith still going to be chain stunned into chain stunned. But Seraph's the one in trouble as Looper makes his way into the mix. And Envy has had this turned against them. Keith still having to retreat here as Apollo finds the damage, gets himself back, but more will be coming through. Looper's able to grab the stun, tries to get more damage, and gets it. Gate wanting to chase this one down, and Hakuo is kill number 3 for Echo Fox.
That was such a close fight. Great Braum shields there from Hakuo. It looks like they were almost able to turn around that the 2v3 at the end there. Lyra now coming down. He's going to be hunting. Could look to clean up these kills. Has his ultimate actually on cooldown, so this would be pretty risky if he wants to go for it. Looper's actually pretty healthy, and so is Gate.
Hard to do, but it looks like he's still wanting to go. Sonic Wave missing.
Delay for Furion.
Yeah, it's time to head on back. Furion shows up, but neither one of them is able to do anything in time. The lack of Dragon's Rage there, like you said, it's going to shut that one down.
Yeah, if he had that available, maybe he can delay long enough for Furion, but Furion actually expended the ultimate, so they really did want to try to get something back there. Echo Fox doing pretty well here, and a lot of credit to Looper, who has moved around the map very, very well. So this was a fight happening over in mid lane. This is probably where Dragon's Rage was expended, but we're going to go right back down to that bot lane fight. And the TP comes in faster for Seraph, but Keith able to do a pretty good job here, backing up, surviving long enough that Looper can come in, they can turn around this fight. And then Apollo, I actually think he played this very well, moving forward, trading damage back onto the carries, taking out Keith, and they were really close to turning this around, but just can't actually tank up enough damage for Hakuo to be able to allow Apollo to finish that off.
The strength of that Pantheon passive, like you were talking about earlier as well, I think that's one reason why the champion seems so hard to deal with, especially early on a lot of the times.
Yep.
The value of blocking an auto attack can be huge.
Yeah, in early games, especially when you're going up against Kennen, if you can actually use your W as he's getting his charged auto attack passive, you can block that out, and that takes a while to actually stack that up and get that going. So it's one of the few reasons that it is considered quite a tough matchup for the Kennen, and Looper has been looking very good. Like, he's looking like he actually has practiced his pick. It's planned, he's doing very well. He's not just playing it for a lane, he's moving around the map and getting everything done that you would hope.
It's not just a random pick that you typed in Kennen counter and locked in the first thing that came up on Google. It's something that he's ready to,
Okay,
okay, this has a 60% win rate against Kennen. This is what we're locking in.
Here we go.
But the fight's breaking out. The Pantheon's coming down. Glacial Fissure out to block off 4, but the stuns come through. Root down onto Lyra, who is immediately shut down. Echo Fox is coming in, prowling around, and finding 2. Walking away now, 7-4 the lead.
Looper is just everywhere. He has 100% KP this game. He has been making these ultimates work, and he has been so proactive with it, pretty much throwing down that ultimate non-stop every time it comes off cooldown, which is what I love to see for champions like Shen and like Pantheon as well.
You want to see him all over the map, just like you said during Champion Select, Azale. He can't sit in the lane. If they want to win, he needs to be enabling everyone else. Take what Pantheon does early and allow that to enable the rest of the team's mid and late game power.
And one of the greatest parts about these sorts of Pantheon builds is with your Ghostblade and your Black Cleaver, you're already at 30% CDR. Many players will grab 10s just from their runes, and then they're going to be on 40%. You have a very low cooldown on your ultimate. You can constantly be using this out, and anytime you're able to force a summoner or get a kill, it's going to be a big win with a very low cooldown on that ult.
Not to mention, you've also got a really low cooldown on the spear spam as well, so you'll be throwing those out constantly during the fights. And let's not forget that Aegis Protection, the passive, doesn't only refresh instantly on the W, but 4 attacks or spellcasts from other abilities will also cause that to refresh. So lower cooldowns equals more blocks, equals greater survivability in the fights, equals that much harder to deal with this Pantheon with such huge kill participation.
Definitely a frustrating pick, and their comp makes a lot of sense because while you could say, okay, well, Pantheon's going to fall off somewhat, yeah, that's fine, but Kassadin is not, right? And you can use this to enable the Kassadin and take that strength. They are looking for Froggen here.
Seraph going for the dive if he can. Froggen jumping away from this one, but Weaver's Wall will put Pyrion right on top of him. And Lyra shows up to grab the 300 gold and walk away with the kill. 4-1-0 on that Lee Sin.
Big commitment to that kill on Froggen. They do trade out a flash, a lot of ultimates. We'll see if Echo Fox can actually get anything back because they are pushing in bot side, so some of that farm may be missed. They want to try to siege up mid lane here too, but you know, if Echo Fox can't get anything back with that, then it's a great play from Envy.
Looper trying to take down some damage on this tier 2 though. He's got Gate nearby coming to help him. The rest of the team rotating down now too. You can see Acadian and Keith following suit. But Pyrian will definitely take that tier 1 on the top side, but not even as fast as Fox will find the tier 2 bottom.
Yeah, so not too bad. Echo Fox able to trade at least a turret back, so the kill goes in Envy's favor. But, you know, Froggen will be able to get topside to actually collect the farm. It's not going to crash into the turret before he can get up there. The Pantheon ultimate will be available right now, so they can look to make plays again. And this is once again a time where Envy's going to have to be pretty scared to be out on the map.
And now we're into that point of the game that I was talking about earlier, Azale. That point of the game where I want to watch what these teams do with what they've built for themselves early. Can Looper, on this 2-1-5 Pantheon, who's had such a good performance so far, be able to keep this team going, keep the snowball rolling and building as they move through the mid game, or are they going to sputter out? Are we going to see some of those strange types of calls that lead teams to doing throw barons, that lead teams to moving into enemy territory without enough vision and tossing the game away? That's what we've got to keep an eye on here for Echo Fox, and even for Envy.
It really is, and it's a good question. And if I was in this game, I certainly favor the composition going late for Echo Fox, simply because I think that Caston is going to be so hard to deal with when you get to those super late game stages, and that Pantheon can kind of back him up and enable it. Plus, you have a really strong 3-man squad with the Caitlyn, the Karma, and the Gragas, who has a lot of wave clear and can be pretty safe. You know, so it's like you can set up a 1-3-1, control the side lanes, have your 3-man squad there, and I think that split pushing is the name of the game here for Echo Fox, and that's going to be their way to catch them out. But for Envy, you have ways to force fights with the Braum ultimate, with the Ash Arrow, with Lee Sin kicking people in. So they're going to have their chances as well, but I think they need to be more proactive. It's more okay for Echo Fox probably to sit back with Cassidy.
I mean, when you look at the Envy team, it literally is every person on this lineup has some way of starting off the fight. So they're at no loss for ways to pull the trigger if they see the opportunity. They just have to be able to recognize those opportunities and jump on them like they are now. The stun out onto Gate, who is deleted before he ever regains consciousness. And Envy now has to see what they can do with it. It's not just the kills, Azale, it's what you translate from them.
Exactly, and they need to continue to get objectives to pressure this game because, you know, Lee Sin, even Ash and things like Kennen and stuff, I consider more of the early game type picks compared to some of the ones that they are going up against. So we'll see if they're able to continue to get that done. But it's a good pick so far. They're probably going to need more before they can force something like a Baron, especially against a Pantheon who could very easily drop in on their heads.
You try to go into a Baron off of something like that against Pantheon that's as fed as he is. He drops the ultimate into the pit, and I don't even know how much damage that does at level 2. It's probably
700 if you're in the middle.
Okay,
and
so
it's magic damage, which is amped by Baron. So it's half of that at the edge, but like that's a hilarious amount of AoE damage. Then you can follow it up with your Spear Strike and everything. Like you actually have quite a bit.
And that's one guy. You've still got the rest of the team too. You've still got a Gragas and you've still got a Caston and a Caitlyn coming in there. So very easily understandable why Envy didn't want to go for a Baron off the back of the pick onto Gate. Fortunate for Echo Fox that the pick didn't lead to anything else, but with Infernal Drake spawning just 5 seconds from now, these teams are going to have something else to fight over.
And the second Infernal would be so good for Echo Fox. For Envy, it's going to be a big focus simply because you want to even that up. You want to keep that at a dead pace, because if they can get that 16% AD AP advantage, that even more favors them going towards the late game. And we'll see if Caston's going to TP in. He is coming, and Looper has the ultimate ready, but will they pull the trigger, or are they just going to smite fight this? Looper's going.
Drake resetting slightly. Looper coming into the middle of the fight. He's saying, here we go. This is how it starts. Green light for Echo Fox. Glacial Fissure comes out. Gate going to be forced back, flashing away from the last part of the threaded volley. Decently low health bars here on Echo Fox, but not low enough to be forced off. They find themselves the Drake, but can they get out? They're retreating into their opponent's territory.
Yeah, they are on the wrong side of the map. They see the TP now coming in. That has to be canceled, and they are just still running further towards the other side. When will they actually turn and fight here? Many ways are in their favor. Envy is looking.
Damage. Gate still very, very low. He's essentially just one decent hit from going down. Mantra inspired to speed these guys up, get them back away yet again. Tools down on both sides as they're walking right by the enemy base. They're just trying to get past however they can. Keith is the one who now nets himself over the wall into the Echo Fox base and maybe the sacrificial lamb for the rest of the team to get away. He is dead to all rights, and that's what it's going to be. Keith traded away for the Infernal Drake, and Echo Fox, the rest of them, they all walk away.
That's actually a pretty ridiculous escape from Echo Fox through your opponent's base, all the way down from Dragon. They end up on the opposite side of the map at the end of this, so Keith going down, that's not bad. I mean, if it's just the one for the second Infernal, that's a big win for Echo Fox. And EnVy, once again, can't force anything else off of this. They actually, chase during all that, so their mini waves are not in their favor. They can't even start sieging a turret. All they're going to get is a kill and a blue buff.
Yeah. I mean, you feel bad for Keith. Everybody's running away as a group of 5, and somebody's got to draw the short straw, and sure enough, he got it. But the rest of the team, including himself, they all get the Infernal Drake. He'll be back alive here in just a couple of moments, and Echo Fox really isn't too much worse for wear. With double Infernal under their belts now, they're feeling good with the bonuses they've got from them.
They really are. It's just one of those situations, if you're getting chased by a bear, you don't have to run faster than the bear. You just have to run faster than your friend.
Yeah, you run faster than the slowest guy in the friend group, and you're like, I'm really sorry about that.
Keith was the slowest guy here. You got to pick up.
That's unlucky, but somebody's got to be the slowest. Back into the live game, though, we are starting to see some more item power spikes come online. You got your Lich Bane now for Kassadin, Leandri's Torment up and running on Talia. So these mages are starting to be real scary damage threats if we get into these fights and they get the opportunity to do what they need to do, with Kassadin jumping into that back line or Talia getting free fire time with multiple threaded volleys over the course of a fight. As the arrow comes out, finds its way onto Froggen. Lyra looking to make the kick, but he can't quite find it. The Rift Walk gets Froggen back to the other angle in time so that the kick just knocks him away. Keith now trying to kite back, getting a couple auto attacks into the EnVy lines. Both sides going to be walking away with some wounds. Froggen, the one who has to actually back, though. No teleport available to re-engage a fight. But Echo Fox decide that they still have enough health to put a little bit of damage onto this mid lane tier 1, now immediately disengaging.
Yeah, smart play, though, from Echo Fox to disengage towards the bottom side, because you know that EnVy could be looking from the flank coming from that top side. Looper already has bot wave pushing. This is pretty well done. I will say that Apollo has been on point with his arrows. It feels like he's hitting quite a few. They're just not able to necessarily convert that much off of it. Even when they get the kill, they're not necessarily set up for an objective or don't have the confidence to go for it. And now Froggen in side lane here could be looking for Furion. Does disengage.
Jumps away. Had to get that Banshee's Veil off first. Now that he does, he knows the opportunity may be there again if he can jump on top of Furion. Lich Bane up means when he hits with those empowered auto attacks, they are going to seriously do some damage.
Yeah, it really will. And he's getting to such a high amount of CDR in these later stages of the game that you really can get to the point where you have like almost no cooldown on your Rift Walk. Like, he's sitting at almost 40% CDR already on Kassadin. So when you hit level 16, that's when it becomes almost impossible to lock down the Kassadin.
Right, the only thing at that point that gates the Rift Walk is just the mana buildup on casting it subsequent times in a very short window. Furion going to find himself found out by Froggen yet again, trying to get away. Root comes down. Over the wall he goes.
Ultimate!
Looper coming in, slams into the ground, and he takes down Furion. Now his Guardian Angel going to be triggered by Lyra, but Lyra may not be able to get himself out of trouble now. Froggen over the wall has found the kill. Echo Fox with 2 for 0 so far. Hakuo forced to flash the wall to stop that from becoming 3. And with those pickups, what will Fox do now? Sarah fighting here against Keith, popping the ulti, trying to make this work, but he's in a 1 versus 3. Apollo showing up to make it a 2v3, but with Acadian on the front line, they got to be careful. Keith and Gate both low. They're forced back, but the trap line is laid down, and the call is Baron from Echo Fox. EnVy only has 80 carry, top laner, and support to fight this with, and Kennen has no ultimate. Baron down to 1/3 HP. Echo Fox just trying to stay healthy enough to take this out. Mantra Inspire, keeping them all topped off, and there you go. Acadian with the secure, but now what do they get away with? Looper's going to be taken down. Gate 2. Over the wall, the rest go. Fox get away with 3, still having the buff.
So in the long trade, it ends up being a 2 for 2, but the Baron goes over to Echo Fox. Their death timers are much more recent, so we'll see if EnVy can actually push and get something done before those guys come back up. But I would say definitely worth here for Echo Fox.
Yeah, you've got Baron still up and running on 3 people, one of which can be a split pusher. You can get the 4-1 going afterwards, and you still get the instant rewards from Baron as well. Let's not forget the 300 gold that heads into everybody's pocket as soon as the objective itself is slain. EnVy does what they can with the situation, though. They mop them up, at least take a couple of those buffs off the table.
I've got to say, it's actually been quite a well-played game, I think, from both sides. Both teams are, I think, playing their compositions pretty well here and trying to get the most out of the situation. Even the engage there from Seraph, making the Baron attempt much riskier because he actually chunked out the support and the AD, and that's kind of what eventually allowed Apollo to clean up some kills and have the potential to fight back on this. But definitely the later you go, the scarier and scarier this gets. Now, Kassadin has Zhonya's, which means he can actually join the team fights much more easily because you can dive deep, knowing you'll Rift Walk in, pop your combo, look for a kill on someone like Apollo or Pyrion, and then you have the Zhonya's to buy your cooldown for that Rift Walk to exit the fight.
Froggen has moved from the early game Kassadin to the mid game Kassadin to now the late game Kassadin coming online with the purchase of that Zhonya's. Team fight capable, level 16, as you mentioned. The final piece of the puzzle for the Rift Walk mobility and cooldowns makes him a serious threat that's constantly got to be on the radar for everyone on Team Envy. Echo Fox bringing the push now to the tier 1 in mid lane. This has been standing for 30 minutes. They'd like to fix that if they can, but the resistance from Envy means Fox heads over to Cloud Drake.
Grab an easier dragon here, pull them into a position where you're happy to take a fight right now as Echo Fox, and if they're not willing to come test you, you grab the dragon for free. When you hit this super late game type stage on Kassadin, though, it's just crazy. I mean, 1.2 second cooldown now on his ultimate. It's so hard to escape this guy. It's so hard to lock him down and actually take him out. You essentially have to land CC and instantly burst him down before he can do that. So if you can, layer something like the Ash Arrow into the seismic shove and things like this, but now Lyra caught out.
Oh, Lyra trying to steal away the enemy red buff, gets pounced on by Looper and Acadian, does manage to get himself away to safety. You got to be very, very watchful when you go for a play like that.
Yeah, Echo Fox maybe could have chased them down, but because Froggen is bot side, they don't want to risk the fact that the rest of Envy could actually be there. They didn't have eyes on a lot of the members, so if you overchase and get taken out, you can certainly throw away your advantage. But now that mid turret finally will go down. 31 minutes they defended it for. This is going to open up the map even more and make that split push that much more powerful.
Makes it that much easier to get wards in enemy territory if you're Echo Fox. Take control of these rotation routes, punish Envy if they try to get a little bit too hasty and going back and forth, defending the lanes. You can see Froggen setting up in one of those brushes just right now, waiting to see if he can get somebody passing through there, trying to set down some wards. Now trying to go as fast as he can, get in there, get some damage onto Apollo. Gate gonna be stunned up. The arrow down, though, is a big tool, a big threat for Envy that Fox no longer has to worry about for 60 seconds.
And Echo Fox is actually moving around the map here very well. They're showing a good understanding of what they need to do to close out this game. Looper is pushing the side lanes. They're not overcommitting in the mid lane. They're actually, utilizing their map pressure, their lane control very, very well here. And so far, you got to say so good for Echo Fox and their kind of late game report card.
Another T2 falls. Looper going to be stunned up, though. Not good if he falls for Echo Fox. Envy picking themselves up a solid kill that's going to halt the aggro.
And Echo Fox just decided they didn't actually want that fight. Giving up the one kill there is not the biggest loss. They'd already taken down the turret, so because the minion waves are in their favor, all Envy's really going to get here is a chance to reset the waves, maybe get a little bit of vision, prepare for their next move. But Froggen will head straight back down to the bot lane, continue to pick up farm, and they're looking good.
Baron power play 326 gold, pretty measly number for what Echo Fox would have liked to see there.
It's true. I mean, we have to remember, though, that they traded out a couple kills right after they got it. Seraph now looking to corral Froggen. We'll see if Froggen can actually get out.
Froggen pops the Zhonya's to get himself away from the wrath of the ulti, but he's not getting away from the wrath of the rest of Envy. Pyrion, the one who picks up that one. His first kill of the game, 33 minutes in. Just been assists up until now. But as much as we've been talking about Echo Fox and their rotations and their scaling and how they've been in control of the game, they're only 200 gold ahead right now.
Yeah.
This game could go either way.
It very easily can. The only reason I really am favoring Echo Fox is the double Infernal and the fact they have a super late game Kassadin. I think that their scaling kind of is superior because of that. So that certainly gives them an edge. But Envy is holding very tight, and they can certainly win this game. You get the right picks, you can eliminate that gold off the map super quickly, and they have the potential to CC people down from 100 to 0. You don't even necessarily get a chance to actually utilize this late game power. But Keith is going to be a big threat at this point now. He's completed those big 3 items, plus he has a QSS. Like, this is a very strong Caitlyn here, too. For Envy, it's going to be a lot about picks. Like, they have so much CC. You have to pick someone off. You have to kill someone right off the bat before they can do anything.
It's got to be preferably Keith or Froggen, or maybe even Looper if you can get him, but he still has that GA and Sterix Gauge, so he's not quite as easy to kill as one of the other two. Got to be very mindful on the side of Envy. of who you go for and whether or not that arrow landing is one that you follow up. Because going in on one that isn't a good one is an instant disaster, and Fox has the damage to turn it around.
They really do. Echo Fox trying to shove up mid lane. They already have push on bot lane here from Looper, so just trying to continue manipulating these minion waves and controlling the pace of the game. They're always looking to set up one wave, then they push up mid and join up with their split pusher in the side wave to try to get an advantage. And Baron is not on the map for another 40 seconds, so Looper still does have some time. He also could, if someone shows bot, look to ult mid, and that's how they're trying to pull each other apart and really look for edges.
Seraph was hanging around in top side there for a while, just getting that wave pushed out, but now seeing Echo Fox coming towards bottom, recognizes the need to move himself towards that part of the map, help with this defense. Arrow comes out, finds its way onto Looper, more CC coming through, a lot of burst along with it. The stun up will pop the GA, and Envy seems to have found themselves a free pick onto that Pantheon. Exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, that's a really big one with the Baron coming up now, because we have been talking about, yeah, sure, Envy keeps getting picks, but what do they get after it? And now they have a chance to pressure the Baron to look for that. They get the GA and a long res timer here on Looper. Echo Fox is looking to perhaps catch them off guard and go for a flank, try to pick off someone as they are straggling behind. We'll see if they go for it. I think Envy's going to start this up for sure, though.
Remember, this Envy team, they don't have arrow, but that's it. They've got everything else in their arsenal in terms of ultimates. It's a 5 versus 4. Echo Fox must be very careful trying to start this fight. Lyra jumping in.
Oh, taking so much damage there.
Yeah, it takes a lot more than he bargained for. Having your jungler down to about 20% HP. Now Envy's got to be careful.
Yeah, but they're feeling the pressure. They feel like they need to actually get something done. They need to get an objective, get something more. Echo Fox is just trying to delay them. Remember, Looper has TPs up in a couple seconds. They're maybe overstaying.
Tyrion trying to kite this one back. Envy forced to disengage. Echo Fox loses HP off of Gate more than anyone else, but the rest of the team still in decent enough shape. Looper moving his way towards a potential ultimate, and Envy was not able to capitalize.
Yep, and Envy does have to pull back, but now they're starting it up again, and Echo Fox doesn't actually know this. Will they expect the Baron? They thought that their opponents were resetting, but they have no vision on it. Envy's actually going to get this for free.
Ninja Baron! Envy manages to steal it right from under the noses of Echo Fox. Oh, man!
That was actually brilliant from Envy. They feign like they're backing off. They had sweepers available. They see that there's no vision on the Baron, so they just start it right back up, and Echo Fox did not expect it whatsoever, did not leave any wards on the way out either. And that's a free Baron for Envy. Great job by them, and now they're on the Elder. We'll see if this can actually be contested. If Lyra could steal this away, it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Nope. They're deciding not to risk it. They say it'll be Baron versus Elder Drake. That's going to be the situation, but remember, this is a pretty potent Elder Drake, Azale. This is double Inferno plus Cloud Elder Drake. This isn't one that they just managed to have it and controlled Drakes not at all otherwise throughout the game. These guys have done the setup and the preparation throughout the game to make this a very potent buff. Envy's got to respect the combat potential in that.
Yeah, and now in these sorts of situations, generally speaking, you want to just wait out the Elder because the Baron lasts longer, and the Elder Dragon is kind of like a more potent buff in the short term. So you can try to get control of waves, you can try to get something done like that, but you have to remember that it's not only the true damage burn, but it increases the effectiveness of the dragons you already have by 50%. So this is essentially a triple Infernal team with, a massive amount of true damage, 180 per spell that's applied. So I don't think that Envy can actually fight up against Echo Fox during that time.
No.
But it's still good for them that they got the Baron, they get the gold from it, and they've taken it away from their opponents.
Now, all they need to do, like you said, is sit out that timer. Echo Fox will flex muscles as hard as they can until then. But once that goes down, it's Envy looking to make the moves here. Bottom side, Looper the one who's caught out. The redemption coming down. Pyrian eating a lot of damage, trying to find the collapse. The stun out onto Froggen, who now may be coming right back into the fight. The Inspire to keep him hastened. Acadian around from the side, won't be able to find anything here. The heal was also popped by Pyrian. Mid lane, the wave has been shoved up by Fox here too. Envy goes for something, but they just can't find it.
It was actually ridiculously close from Apollo. He tried to time his arrow to hit Froggen as the Zonias expired, and it looked like it was passing through him as the Zonias went down. And had that actually stunned Froggen, he could have died. And a late game death like that on Kassadin is so punishing. So a lot of credit for Apollo almost getting that. Has definitely been on point with his arrows this game, and he has really been a big catalyst for most of their picks. So he needs to continue looking for this. It's still the same game plan here. Echo Fox want to get those side lane advantages, want to get Froggen in these 1v1s where he's going to be so strong. And Envy are trying to force picks, trying to force them into these situations where they can kill someone off really fast. And Froggen not having Zonius for a while could be an opportunity.
Big buff's going to be going down soon as well. You can see only 45 seconds left on Baron, which means only a few moments left on Elder Drake.
Now here's something you don't see every day, the IE on Kennen. That is a very high DPS Kennen.
Whoa.
He does have PD, so he has crit in his build. He's just going like for a less tanky build. Usually people get kind of more pseudo defensive items and things like that. But if he feels like he can be, you know, free in these fights, he's now offering that much more threat, right? Because if you focus too heavily on Pyrion or Apollo and you ignore the Kennen, he's more than a CC bot now. He's going to have some serious DPS coming out with that IE.
It's an 80 carry build with a frozen mallet in it as the defensive item is essentially
so
what
it's reckless.
Kennen is. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's reckless in LCS. Yeah. Is what we're getting from Seraph this game. One more item left to build. Likely going to see even more damage coming out of him if that's the way he wants to play it with the Infinity Edge. But Envy is getting to the point, and Echo Fox is getting to the same point where we're hitting full item builds, Azale. You've got full items on Looper already. He's not going to get any stronger.
No, he really won't. And later in the game, yes, Pantheon still does have some serious damage you can get on the carries, but because there's so much CC, oftentimes you're more of a distraction than just like that CC bot. You just kind of jump in, you stun a carry, then you die. Because you are not tanky enough against 6-item people in a team fight when you are getting targeted. Now, the Elder Dragon has expired. That was the end of the Baron buff for Envy, so that was kind of their window where they could get out on the map and try to push some stuff.
The buffs essentially just equalized with each other. Not a lot happened. Tier 3 under siege now, Baron power play. They said, hey, Fox, you got 369? Well, we'll do you one better. We got 147 from ours.
Some very impressive Barons here.
Big time Baron money.
Not really swinging the games like you sometimes see. But, you know, the teams are playing each other very evenly. The problem is becoming, it's like, they are kind of just repeating the same things over and over. And you are starting to feel like, hey, maybe they actually don't really know how to close out the game. Maybe they don't really have the confidence to go for that. Because I was expecting to see Froggen more in a side lane, and for the most part, it really has just been Looper pushing it out in a side lane, and Froggen kind of sticking near the team, because I think they're very worried about the hard engage, right? They're very concerned that if you split up in a full 1-3-1 and try to utilize that Kassadin, that the rest of the team is going to die, and then the game will just end.
Right.
But that being said, you know, Froggen does need to try to find those matchups, because if he can actually get a 1v1 against Pyrion or someone like that, really almost anyone at this point, he should be able to smash that. And that's how you really crack open the base. That's how you take over games, I think, a lot of time on the Kassadin.
It becomes a question of debate between trying to win as opposed to trying not to lose, right? And it feels like Echo Fox is trying so hard not to lose by not risking that 1-3-1 that you were talking about.
Yeah.
That trying to win just sort of found itself on the back burner, and we've stalled out the game till 42 minutes like we are right now. And I was expecting a close series between these two teams. Like we mentioned plenty of times before, they had very similar styles, very similar strengths and weaknesses during spring, and they're both having surprisingly strong starts here in summer. So I was expecting a close match with a lot of very similar goals from both teams. And right now, it seems like we've hit that point where they've just collided and nobody's willing to budge.
Yeah, I mean, both the teams are not making any major mistakes. They're not allowing their opponents to actually, find that big killing blow, to find that edge that allows them to close out the game. And now that Froggen has actually completed his full build, the death cap is a massive power spike. So now we get to see what his real game plan is. He doesn't have any excuses as far as scaling or waiting around for any items. Like, he can do whatever he wants to do at this point. And Echo Fox certainly could win through team fighting, but I think that you just have such an edge in split pushing, you should be looking for it.
Ooh. This could turn into a fight at any moment. Echo Fox with priority over mid lane. Remember that Echo Fox was involved in quite a zany series against FlyQuest where mid lane priority ultimately ended up ending the game with some backdoor shenanigans and all sorts of a mess in that one. So you know that that might be on their minds as well, heading into the very late game of this one.
And Baron is back up, and they have kind of control of that area. The trap line is down. Will they actually just start it up and try to force a fight? That certainly is an option, and it's oftentimes what you see teams going for if they're not sure how to close out through split push or whatever. And this is going to go down so fast.
Oh, the
will
wall
Envy
comes
even
in.
get here in time?
Weaver's Wall will stop that from happening any further. Good ultimate from Pyrion just to make sure. Buys enough time for the rest of Envy to show up and contest this.
And Echo Fox has now lost mid lane priority. They're going to be getting shoved in there, so they're just going to start up the Baron again, try to bring Envy back here. All 5 members of Envy are around, I don't know if a smite fight against Lyra is really what you want.
Yeah, that's not the kind of guy that you want to pick out and say, I'm going to challenge his mechanics.
Oh, look at that damage.
Seraph getting destroyed. He's got no chance. That's the problem with that aggressive itemization, Azael. Sometimes when you give up the defensive stats and put yourself in a spot like that, you get punished. And with Echo Fox finding that completely free pick onto the EnVy top laner, now they're making the call for the Baron. Lyra or not, this is the play.
Yeah, and Froggen, he finally is kind of flexing those muscles. 6-item cast in. Lyra gonna look for the steal. Can he get in?
He can get in, but he's not going to get the Baron. He's looking for a lot of damage now being poured into Looper, whose GA is going to be popped yet again. Lyra on the run, Pyrion on the run, Pyrion in the grave, as EnVy is completely routed. And Echo Fox will find their victory through the win in this team fight.
Yeah, they don't have any waves, though, so they can't push just yet. They have huge res timers, so they are going to shove down mid. They sent Froggen back, so they obviously don't have confidence that they can end on this push, though. And their inhibitor was actually under fire. Now they're going to TP him in. They are deciding that they can go for the end. We'll see if they can pull it off, because Seraph is coming back up. There's quite a bit of time until anyone else on the map, and they should be able to do it.
Seraph has to work a 1v4 miracle here. It's him versus everyone except Keith. He just bought a QSS, and he's going to find himself bursted low by Frog and has to pop the ulti, and with that down, that should seal EnVy's fate. Echo Fox, after a 46-minute war of attrition, will take down the Nexus turrets, find themselves onto the Nexus, and win Game 1 against Team EnVy.
There goes a long one. It was a close one, but finally, Echo Fox able to find that advantage that they needed in the late game. They see Seraph on the side by himself and just able to burst him down ridiculously fast with that 6-item Casted, 6-item Caitlyn. And while it did take them a long time to close it out, you can give them the kind of the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, well, they had kind of a scaling advantage, so they didn't necessarily have to make any risky moves or do anything like that. But that being said, the longer you play a game, the more chances you give your opponents, especially a team like EnVy that has so much pick potential on this lineup. You are giving them opportunities to come back in.
It was an interesting game from both sides because they both had such similar plans with wanting to make sure that they didn't give their opponents that win condition like you mentioned, and it just resulted in such a tiptoe dance around each other that eventually was ended by Seraph's just minor mistake in positioning towards the end. Froggen jumping on that, Keith getting in there to find that last auto attack worth of damage as well. That's what sealed their fate.
Definitely did. I mean, Seraph, I think it was a pretty cool build. We never really got to see it actually shown off, though, because when he had the IE, he pretty much just died instantly. But overall, pretty well played game here from Echo Fox. They come back with Acadian. They win their first game. We'll see if they can close it out.
Yep, we're going to go ahead and throw things down to the analyst to break down that Echo Fox win.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. It was a cool build, Azael. However, it didn't work. And as you mentioned, we didn't really get to see it work. But that's only one part of that top lane matchup that I want to talk about, because the other half of it is, of course, Looper on the Pantheon pick here, straight into the cannon, and they were joking about it in the cast that Captain Flowers said, this is like one of those solo queue things where you look at what was.
Yeah,
exactly
it is. If you look at Lolalytics and you see cannon, the counter should be Pantheon. So it works in lane because you can get so much kill pressure. And, to Seraph's defense, so to speak, this is a really interesting game for a lot of reasons, not necessarily very well played. But the split push cannon doesn't have an option in this game, especially when it gets late, because you can get ulted on by Pantheon instantly stunned. Casting can two-shot you, as we saw in the last fight. So I think he went IE thinking that was the best team fight item for him.
Right,
but
turn myself into a team fight AD carry as opposed to a straight-up split pusher. Of course, as was mentioned, it didn't work out. Before we dive into the game itself, from start to finish, I want to start with the game ender, because you just pointed it out. We saw that cast in when you let the team scale to this point, has the potential to two-shot almost anyone on the team. Oh, so that's already happened here at this replay. You see the Kennen dead. Going
exactly.
For the steal
and then
attempt.
the final play is just a 4v5. EnVy had so much minion wave control, just continue to shove out those minions, kind of let the Baron go over, wait for your 5v5 would have been the smarter call. And for all of EnVy's growth that seemed like happened between spring and summer, a lot of it wasn't shown in this game, where I think they made a lot of somewhat poor decisions like that one, where they let themselves get just super outplayed by Echo Fox.
All right, I mean, you notice the top minion wave, the mid minion wave, and even the bot one pushing out at this point. They had the option to, as you mentioned, back off in the 4v5 and say, fine, we'll give you the Baron for free at this point. We're just going to have to stall it another 5 minutes.
Not only back off, they could have probably taken the mid lane turret.
That's a good point.
And tried to push for another pathetic Baron power play in which there were 2 of during this game. Aside from this Baron power play, the other 2 were sub 1,000 gold. These teams were actually, it was actually neck and neck the whole time because the compositions were at odds with each other with what the teams actually wanted to do.
And now let's talk about what those compositions want to do. So I'm returning to the Pantheon point. The last time we saw it was actually summer of 2016 in the playoffs. Here it's making its return to the stage. We already talked about how, yes, okay, great. In the lane, this is a counter. But you made a point to me. Look at the other champions on this roster and the amount of time they need to get powered up, and the Pantheon plays perfectly into that.
Exactly. Pantheon is seen as an early game champion, which it is, and oftentimes you think, oh, just take Pantheon late and we'll be fine. Pantheon is a bridge for Cassidy and Caitlyn to get to the late game when they can take over the game. So even though Echo Fox wasn't necessarily playing great and Looper was getting picked off a lot, the game just kept getting later and later, and you saw Froggen turn on late in the game.
Oh yeah, that level 16 power spike for the Cassidy is absolutely absurd. Let's take a look at some of the action that Pantheon and Looper was a part of. Again, we've talked about this guy kind of coming into his own on this roster, looking to make plays, and he finally does here in this game.
Yeah, Looper played lights out last week, and then this teleport is tricky because there is double TP on that roster, so you're never really sure who's coming in. And at this point, he did have a Ghost Blade, so Pantheon does absurd damage at this stage in the game. You also have to respect Pantheon at very low health because of that auto attack block he has on right now. Can reset it with his W, so Apollo played it super well, but it is a game of pixels and couldn't quite get that last hit on a Looper, and it turns the fight around at the very end.
Exactly. I mean, that's just one of the many instances in which the Pantheon was a big turn in skirmishes, and as you mentioned, all of those plays happened in the earlier stages of the game. You note the amount of times that he was picked off. Well, the majority of those came beyond the 20 to 25 minute mark when the Cassidy and the Caitlyn have the ability to apply pressure elsewhere on the map. This is that early game prowess that we're talking about.
Yeah, the gank power Pantheon versus Kennen is absurd, especially when you combo with Gragas, which I have to credit Echo Fox with. And then also with the Kassadin, the absurd chase down, so you're almost always going to get the kill unless the team matches you with more people than you are able to bring. So Echo Fox did kind of use that to get themselves in good positions for the late game. They didn't play the late game actually all that well, but Pantheon was a big part of getting them there.
Yeah, I mean, look, as you mentioned, this game was a slugfest, and we even saw on the gold graph for the majority of it, you know, changing leads frequently, both teams having their turn in the driver's seat. And so for both teams, there's plenty to work on. But one more thing I want to touch on with the Pantheon pick, I know we're hammering this quite a bit, is kind of the interesting fact that Echo Fox has been vocal about the fact, and even Envy, we saw in the tease at the beginning of the day, they said, we don't know how to attack this team because we don't get an opportunity to scrim them. We have no information. And so here we go. Who's to say? And we don't know. But the Pantheon looks to have caught them off guard a little bit just as a pick in the top lane.
Totally agree. Even just getting used to playing against Looper when we saw him last week, his Jason, a lot of these 1v2s, they'll pull out the Pantheon, they'll pull out the support Zach, they'll pull out the support Sejuani. These players like to be quirky, and it does play to their advantage if they keep their quirkiness in-house. And Echo Fox has actually been pretty hush-hush about their actual practice strategies.
Yes, that's
true.
We
know they don't scrim as much as other teams. They probably still do scrim a little bit outside of in-house, but anytime they're going to pull something like this, which no one else plays in the LCS, they have a very clear motive to not let anyone see that until it's on stage and until it counts.
And we talk all the time about surprising teams in Champions Select with flex picks. Well, here they're surprising teams without flex picks. They're just taking surprise picks.
Just go to the data websites that show you counter picks, and that's what Loopers and Gates' next champion's going to be.
It's working.
Secret's out.
It's working in the LCS. It could work for you too at home. After the break, we'll see if Team Envy can rally and even the series against Echo Fox, or if Echo